So you passed the FBI clearance, and at the time that the FBI was checking your background, you were unaware of it.
I was under the name of Wong Hon Ming.
So you were selected for PSYOPs. Do you know why?
Because I was fluent in Cantonese and some Mandarin.
And how were your English skills?
English, I was on a roll in English grammar in high school.
And this is at Cortland High School.
Yeah.
So then you were then sent overseas.
Right, sent to, after Fort Riley training, we were sent to Tokyo.
And why Tokyo? What was going on in Tokyo?
That's where we have a station there, broadcast station. It's called the First Radio and Leaflet Group. And they were just setting up the station, hiring announcers from Taiwan, Hong Kong, so forth.
And just so we understand what the PSYOPs is, it's, for lack of a better term, it's
an adjutant general corps.
Okay. And part of it is propaganda.
That's true.
Okay. And the purpose of which is to encourage members of the opposing forces.
That's to surrender.
To surrender.
Peacefully.
Okay.
That's why we drop leaflets and radio transmitted in shortwave.
So your involvement in Tokyo was to work with the voice actors and actresses.
That's right. We have professional translators and announcers there. So that's not our job. But we keep them in tune with our job.
Okay. So they basically read from scripts.
Right.
And this was all audio.
We have script writers. The professional script writer who formerly works in stations in the U.S. So we have all different kind of jobs to do. So
the voice actors and actresses were reading from the scripts.
Right. We have our outfit has cooks, quartermasters. Just everyone has their own MOS.
Mm-hmm. So once the actors and actresses were recorded, the recordings were then rebroadcast or broadcast.
That's right.
And so as part of that process, you were sent out or deployed to Busan.
Right. After 9 months in Tokyo, I was deployed to Seoul first, to join the other group of Psy Warriors. And after 6 months there, I was sent to Busan for another group. We live on top of the hill with a native broadcast station next door. We have mobile station that could move around.
What was your job in Seoul then?
To listen to transmissions that broadcast from Tokyo, to see that it goes through that correctly.
And then what about in Busan?
Busan, we also broadcast from mobile station. We also have rebroadcast, transmitted, transcribed.
How long did you serve how long did you serve during the Korean War?
Let's see, 1 year and 11 months, because I did not take R&R. I get to go home a month earlier.
So you got paid for that?
A month R&R after 2 years.
Okay.
So, like a fool, I didn't take R&R.
So what rank did you achieve?
To the rank of corporal. was supposed to be sergeant, staff sergeant, but Truman frozen all promotions
Okay.
to save money.
Uh-huh. And what years did you serve then in the Korean War?
February 1951 to January 1953.
When you came back, you returned, is it to San Francisco?
Yes, returned to San Francisco with a $400 mustering out pay.
You, during your time in Korea, you received combat pay and you ended up buying a nice camera for yourself.
Right. In fact, I bought 3 cameras. First in Tokyo, I bought a Rolleiflex, very popular at the time, and a Canon. Sold them. Then I bought Leica at Seoul. It's a PX Post Office Exchange.
Now, how much did that cost you?
About $380.
Was that
2 months combat pay.
2 months combat pay? But you made good use of that camera. You took a lot of pictures.
Oh yes. So I took very good pictures.
Uh-huh.
About half a ton of them.
And you were kind enough to share it with us.
Yes, if it's okay with you.
Oh, absolutely. Now, you came back stateside 1953.
That's right.
And what did you do next?
I went immediately to my cousin to work for him. He needed a handyman, a farmhand.
Which farm was this? Johnson Farm?
Yes.
And now eventually...
After the war, you mean?
Right,
After
right.
the war, I went to live with my cousin in Oakland.
Okay.
My first cousin, he was a World War II veteran. He was 5 years older than me, so he went to the Second World War. He went to Philippines as reconnaissance duty, and also in Japan he served the occupation.
And then you stayed with your cousin in Oakland for a little bit?
Cousin for about a year. I worked for a grocery store for Mr. Moy, Fred Moy, near where we live in East Oakland.
Mm-hmm.
Then after a while, I went to work other places
Now,
until after the interrogation for the immigration violation,
mm-hmm.
then I opened up a store, work in post office too before that.
Okay. Yeah, so let's step back a little bit. At some point, you worked at another farm up in Cortland, one of Lincoln Chan's farms.
Yes.
When did you work
That was
there?
after I came back from China
Okay.
at Lincoln Chan's farm.
Okay. So this is back in 1949, and
Yeah.
before you were drafted into the Korean War.
Right.
You worked on Lincoln Chan's farm, and this was over in Cortland.
Right.
You worked there for, was it about a month or 2 months?
Right. Farm skills, learn how to prune trees and so forth.
Okay. And then,
Picking pears, I was expert.
so shortly after, you were then drafted.
Right.
Okay. So then let's go forward a little bit to that time after the Korean War when you returned stateside. Eventually, the United States government learned that your immigration papers or your immigration status.
That was while I was working at the post office for about 2 years. And then the immigration department sent me a letter stating I was an illegal immigrant.
But you, in fact, were, based on what the law considered, because you came in as a paper son, but almost all of the Chinese in America were paper sons.
Probably 80% in the back in the 1920s, 10s.
So you got discovered because back then America offered an amnesty program. They were aware of the paper son problems.
Right.
And they allowed people who were paper sons to seek amnesty and then eventually gain a path to citizenship.
Yes, my younger brother Man Bing got caught first, so he confessed at the immigration office, and then he involved me, so it was my turn
So,
to interview.
so what you're telling us is you had two, as you mentioned to us earlier, you had two other paper brothers.
That's right. Older brother, named younger brother was Man Bing. Older brother was Sun Yao,
And-
Kit Zhong.
And these were not obviously your real brothers.
Right. So they were just acquaintance.
Okay. And so the younger,
They were relatives of my paper mother,
okay.
actually.
So the younger paper brother actually went through the amnesty program. And
First,
he identified you,
that's right.
and that's how you were caught up in this immigration issue.
Mm-hmm.
And this leads us to how and when you eventually joined Cathay Post.
That's right. 57.
Okay. 57 was when you received notification from the Immigration Service, right?
Right.
And at some point you met a member of Cathay Post who was also an attorney.
That's right. His name is Wong Pak Hoi.
Okay. And so this,
So he convinced me to join Cathay Post in 1957,
okay.
before we interrogation.
Okay. And so the notice you received from the,
Immigration office.
is this notice right here?
Right.
Okay.
It says, you falsely represented yourself to be a United States citizen. You have never been a United States citizen. You were not then in possession of a valid immigration visa. You have never been admitted to the United States for permanent residence as an alien. So this is what the charges were.
You, by this time, had served 2 years honorably in the United
Right.
States Army.
51 to 53.
You had never received any, so much as a speeding ticket.
Not till very late.
And you had never gotten into any trouble.
Not till 55 or something.
Okay. And you had never gotten into any trouble with the law.
Except one time when I inadvertently sold beer to
To a mi- to a-
19-year-old.
Okay.
I was caught. He was what is this? What do you call it? Entrapment.
Oh, he was undercover.
Undercover. Yeah.
Okay. And this was in the 50s?
Let's see. What's it?
Was
When I had a store
okay.
at 58 and 58.
Okay.
Pay a fine of $100.
So that was the only trouble you've gotten into, and that was just an innocent mistake too.
I thought I put that on my when I was waiting for a green card. So you had to answer all those questions about the background.
So you then had to go through the hearing process.
Yes,
You, by that point, had joined Cathay Post 384.
that's right.
And fortunately, the immigration hearing was successful.
Right, I was not deported. I was granted a green card, so able to work and that's free, as a free man.
And you eventually became an American citizen.
Yes, in November 16, 1962,
Now,
at Superior Court in Oakland, California.
you, because of the immigration issues, you had to resign from your position at the post office.
That's right. I was not a citizen.
And eventually you found your way over to Safeway.
That's right.
Were
And worked there until retirement at age 63.
And you were the manager of several departments there.
Right, the frozen food department. And later, it was getting too cold for me. I transferred to dairy department.
Which is almost as cold, but not as cold.
Right, just wear a sweater.
Now, you, when you first came here, obviously, you were 8, 9. Actually, when you finally arrived here, you were 10 years old.
Right.
And, up until the 50s and 60s, you were still single.
Yes, until age 34. I went back after I got my passport, I went to Macau to see my mother and sisters. Was not able to go to communist China then. And they were living in Macau on a one-room apartment. So we lived together, stayed together for a year until I found a wife in Macau and got married there. So I sold the store where I had for 5 years and spent a year in Macau. When I came to America, I was broke again.
So to finance your trip back to Macau, you sold the grocery store.
Grocery store.
You were running your own grocery store.
In my pocket, I had about $5,000.
So you ran your own grocery stores for about 5 years in Oakland.
Yeah.
And it was called Meadow Grocery?
Meadow Market, yeah.
Meadow Market. And that's because it was located on Meadow in Oakland.
One-man operation. I had a helper after school.
So you sold that, went to Macau, stayed there for a year.
And grocery.
You stayed there for a year and then came back with your wife,
Right.
whom you're still married to.
My wife came back 8 months later.
Okay.
Came back to find a job first,
Mm-hmm.
and then apply for and mother and sisters.
Okay.
They came later.
So you've pretty much been living in the East Bay since that time.
Yes.
Okay. And how many children do you have?
We have 3 boys and 1 girl.
And their names?
Number 1 son is Alvin. The daughter is Lisa. And then there's Stephen. And then the youngest one is Kenny.
And then what about, how many grandchildren do you have?
Right now we have 10 grandchildren.
Okay. I won't ask you to name them all.
Oldest one is 16.
Wow, okay.
The youngest is 2.5.
Okay. Now, your children and grandchildren have written about your experience coming to America,
Right.
being a paper son.
Very short biography.
Okay. Now, in terms of the post, in terms of Cafe Post, you became a dues-paying member in 1957. Attended some meetings, so this building looks familiar to you.
Yes.
From back then.
Hasn't changed a bit.
And you carried on with your professional life and continued to pay your dues. And in the 1980s, you became a life member?
I became a life member. Just to pay one time, $90?
Okay. And so that's probably the best investment you've made.
Right. Didn't have to pay ever since 1982 to now 2014.
So what do you think about your time in the Post so far? It's been quite some time.
Yes, 57 years. how the years went by so fast. Thank the Lord.
Mhm.
I'm still healthy.
Mhm.
At 84.
Mhm. And what do you hope to see with the post as the years go on?
Just been watching it grow from the time when I joined was about 50, now 120, you see.
Right.
It's grown very fast.
Uh-huh.
Now you have lots of Afghanistan and Iraq veterans.
Right. So I'm gonna.
Not too many Korean veterans left. Right. They're getting older every day.
So this is a shadow box.
Shadow box.
When did you?
Containing some of my medals, like sharpshooter, marksman, Korean service. Okay, Korean service medal, United Nations medal, so forth. And also a member of the Korean War National Museum, a member since 2004 when it started. I don't think they have finished yet. I'm waiting for it to finish to go visit the Korean War National Museum. Founding member.
Now you did visit the monument in Washington D.C.
Yes, the Korean War Memorial.
And when did you visit it?
Was it 1997?
What thoughts did
Pardon?
you have when you? What thoughts did you have when you visited the memorial?
It's exactly as I remember. All these soldiers standing there marching.
Any funny stories from your time in Korea?
Well, I enjoyed learning how to play chess. And the time I beat the company commander 3 out of 4 times. That was one of my highlights before I was discharged.
Did he give you a bad review because of that? Well, Herman, thank you very much for your time.
It's been a pleasure.
We appreciate it.
Thank you, Galen.
Thank you.
It's been my pleasure.